The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah! Go Cowboys! This is Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw Dating, preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys, and broadcasting live from Dallas Cowboys World Headquarters at the Star.
Happy Victory Monday, Cowboys Nation. Welcome back to Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys. We are coming live from the beautiful Star in Frisco, as I hope you all have engaged in buying that 50 burger today, because that is going to be the theme of our show. I'm Jess Navarez. I'm your host today. Of course, I'm joined by two incredible ladies, Christy Scales and Aisha Morrison. Ladies, the Cowboys sealed the deal yesterday against the Colts, winning 54-19, a final score. Currently sitting real pretty at 9-3 and second in the NFC East. So there is a lot to unpack about Sunday Night Football that we saw yesterday. However, let's hit it off with an OBJ Watch update, because he is in the building, as Christy had just mentioned, and I just want to make sure we give y'all all the updates, and that's running through your mind. So, Christy, what have we heard so far about our latest OBJ update?
Well, of course, Mike McCarthy was asked about it. Same question, 4 different ways, trying to extract more information. McCarthy just finished his press conference a little bit ago, but said that OBJ is actually currently meeting with the Cowboys medical staff. And then when pressed as to whether or not Odell will actually go out and have a workout, he wouldn't commit to an answer on that, and neither would Jerry Jones. But we know from last night's post-game conversation that the Cowboys Leadership Council will be meeting with him this evening, and we've also have it confirmed from McCarthy and Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones that Odell will be in town overnight, and there'll be more follow-up tomorrow. So that's the latest breaking news on OBJ at the Star.
Thank you, Christy. We appreciate that. And you know what? If I were OBJ after seeing yesterday's win, makes the Cowboys a little more intriguing than they already were for him. So let's get right into it. Aisha, girl, that game, how are you feeling after a nearly 60 burger? Really, I was hoping for a 60 burger. I was being a little selfish there. 40 burger was not enough for me. How are you feeling after that victorious Sunday Night Football game from the Dallas Cowboys?
I was confused in the fourth quarter. I mean, have you ever seen anything like it?
No.
In the fourth quarter, I've never seen. I wasn't confused about what was happening. It was more so like, hey, what's going on? Like, I was like, what's going on? Because it was turnover, touchdown, and that's the efficiency that you look for in a football team. One thing about the Cowboys that I think is underrated is becoming underrated with them, and what good teams do well is they have the ability to close out games and put teams away and to turn it up. Just that, let's turn it up, let's go finish this game. And that's, to me, a lot of it is a mental thing to lock in like that and to finish a game. And that's something I think in the past that we haven't seen from them. There's so many times you like, why? Go finish the game. Just go put the nail in the coffin, finish the game. And one thing I've seen from them in this since Dak's return is the third quarter, fourth quarter, they really have the ability to come out and adjust at the half and put it on teams, and there's no questions asked at the end of it. And so I think that this is an impressive part that they're adding to their game, and giving you more confidence in them as a team that they can go do that is important.
An impressive fourth quarter, indeed. 33 points on the board within that fourth quarter. The third time in NFL history a team has scored at least that many points in the fourth quarter. So making history. Christy, we were all at the game yesterday, but I want to know from the sidelines, what were the reactions from the players during that fourth quarter? What was that feeling like? Can you explain that kind of energy that was just exuding out from the sidelines?
Well, Aisha hit the nail on the head. The old football axiom is that turnovers happen in bunches.
Yeah.
But to have 4 takeaways in a row, that's amazing. I've never seen that before. But the best part about being on the sideline was towards the end of the game watching the equipment managers try and rearrange the equipment trunk behind the Cowboys bench to put all the souvenir footballs in there. They literally were running out of trunk space because you had Malik Hooker taking home 2 of the footballs because he had the fumble return for the touchdown. He had the interception. You had rookie Deron Bland with 2 interceptions, so he kept those footballs. Let's see, Malik Davis, the rookie running back, scored his first touchdown, so he kept that football. So it's pretty hilarious. Whereas they're like, "Oh man, that's a great problem to have when you've got too many souvenirs to take home after a big win."
I love that you called it a takeaway too, because I think it's a difference between a turnover and a takeaway.
Yeah.
But those were, I mean, the forced fumble by Damone Clark. These things are also too with Deron Bland. He's snatching the ball. He's like, no. That's my ball right now. And those are takeaways to me. Like, I'm bigger, stronger than you, and this is my ball. And that's what I'm impressed with. Like, this stuff was not just easy takeaways. You know, they were forcing these errors.
Yeah.
And it's the young guys making these. I'm going to borrow a phrase that Bill Parcells always used, and that's catalytic plays. Plays that can change a game, or at least momentum within a game. So takeaways are obvious ones. You know, a big play on offense would be another. Even on special teams, it may not be a big return. It might be a good hit, you know, to drop a punt returner, you know, and flip field position. But catalytic plays by the young guys. So I'm so glad that, Aisha, among the first ones that you mentioned was Damone Clark, because that forced fumble was great. We didn't mention Sam Williams, another rookie, and he had a fumble recovery. We thought he had a touchdown there. Sam thought he might have had a touchdown, but upon further review, it was correct that he was touchdown. But at least it still was a takeaway. The Cowboys took possession and then ultimately scored.
Well, and I think this game was a perfect example of what you get when you balance both being aggressive and being key focused on what you need to do, because during that first quarter, it looked like a completely different football team from first quarter to fourth quarter. I mean, 33 points in one quarter. Who would have thought that was even going to be humanly possible? Again, I feel a little bad for Matt Ryan today. I really do. That's a rough game for him. But you know what? I think this is exactly what the Cowboys should have done with the amount of talent and the amount of hyper-focus that they put, especially in the penalties and the pre-snap penalties. We'll talk about that later. But this was a statement game. And not only that, I think it was a breakout game for a lot of those young players to show you, hey, this is my spot. This is why I'm here. And I want that ball. I mean, it was incredible to just watch.
May I share a fun moment with you from the sideline pregame? So on the Dallas Cowboys radio network, about 10 to 15 minutes before kickoff, our co-hosts Brian Broaddus and Zach Wolchek, they throw it to Brad in the booth for like keys to the game, some final thoughts, and then they throw it down to me on the sideline. Well, I have all my notes spread out on the trainer's table, which is behind the far right side of the bench. That's where the defensive line sits. So got my headset on, got my glasses on, looking at my notes, ready to share some, you know, inspired things that I've picked up from the coaches and players along the sideline in pregame. Well, Adden Dirty, he's the defensive line coach. He comes out before the players, the pregame introductions, and he always sits on the edge of that table where I have all my notes. And I'm like, Adden, I think I'm going to go with the Shark Week theme. I have shared this with my thoughts before, Shark Week, and with Matt Ryan as the chum in the water. I said, I'm thinking of talking about Shark Week for keys to game. He's like, Shark Week. I like it. Let's go with that. I can't do the British accent that Coach Dirty uses, but that's exactly what it was in the fourth quarter. And why, Jess, you say that you actually felt sorry for Matt Ryan. Yeah. But the key going in was to contain Jonathan Taylor. Don't let the Colts get that run game going. Meanwhile, try and build up a lead and make the Colts have to pass the ball so that you could unleash the pass rushers. And hopefully, with all of the pressure on the quarterback, takeaways ensue. And that's what it didn't really get rolling until the fourth quarter. But when it did, it was a feeding frenzy. And Ryan was chum in the water.
Oh man, chum in the water. That is a rough Sunday night for poor Matt Ryan. But Christy, I wanted to talk to you about playing with dings and nicks within this team, because this team, they were putting their all out there. Those were hard hits. I mean, the tackling was just phenomenal, really, from both sides of the ball. Very physical. So I wanted to ask you about that, specifically with players like CD and Jaron Kearse. What were you seeing about the players and how they were playing with those kind of dings and nicks, we'll call them?
You know, CD had a couple catches in a possession, but then there was one where he went, this is in the first half, there was about 3 minutes left in the first half. He went across the middle, he reached up, and they call it a rib shot, where a receiver has his arms up and the defensive back comes in, or it could be a linebacker, and delivers a blow to the ribs because the torso is exposed as the receiver has his hands up. And that's what happened to CD. Now, he never went in the blue medical tent, but he did come over to the sideline. He was talking with head athletic trainer Jim Maurer. He spoke briefly with the medical staff. But I tell you, the next possession, Jalen Tolbert was out there for CD just for a couple plays. CD did come in on the third down play. He didn't miss any. CD didn't miss any more plays. But you talk about sucking it up. I mean, the guy was in pain, but he still did it. Jaron Kearse is another guy. Recall that he finished the previous game with a shoulder harness because he had separated his shoulder. He's got a shoulder injury. He's playing with a harness all day yesterday, doesn't miss a beat, doesn't miss a play, doesn't miss a tackle or a hard hit. So anytime, any point in an NFL season, but certainly in December, these guys, they're all playing nicked up, dinged up. But the way that they are able to set that aside and still go out there and lay it on the line. You know, Donovan Wilson, Aisha, you talk about him every week. Yep. More praise for him from Coach McCarthy yesterday. He had a phenomenal game.
He was everywhere.
Yeah, and so I just think we need to sit back and sometimes think about it and appreciate what these guys are doing.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah, when you talk about dinged and nicked up, ask Michael Parsons what it's like to be dinged and nicked up. What they did to him chipping wise and bringing an extra guy around. I mean, he, to his standards, I'm sure had a pretty quiet night because he was getting chipped and dinged up. But that's just some of the sacrifice that comes with being as great as he is, and it allows other gentlemen to get after it. I felt like the DTs, the middle of this defense, Hankins, Osa, those guys played stout in the middle, and that allowed your linebackers to get after it. Tank playing through dings and nicks. He's such, it's just all hats to the ball. Like when you talk about the run defense, I know we're going to get into it. When you talk about the run defense, which allowed them to tee off, a lot of that started with the middle of the defense and all of those guys just getting in there. It's not pretty all the time. Sometimes guys are just falling on other guys. They're just falling into each other, but it's the effort. And it's all hats to the ball right now. And I really saw that in this game, and that allowed them to go ahead and rush the passer at will.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I'm so glad you mentioned, both of you, that this is part of this game that I think is so underappreciated from these men, and the physicality that they come in with day in and day out. They are putting so much on the line to play aggressive, to be physical, but also just finding that balance, like I mentioned earlier, of staying focused within that physicality. And so something else I wanted to mention while we're on the topic of injuries is Anthony Brown, unfortunately, with his Achilles injury and all of that. So, Christy, I was at the game. I didn't see this happen until it was pointed out to me, but you were on the sideline.
Happened right in front of me.
I saw it.
So it was the 22, I think it was 22-yard. It was the screen pass to Jonathan Taylor. So Jonathan comes out and he's going down the right sideline where Anthony Brown is covering number 14. So the receiver is... When I say making a block, that's exaggerating it. Anthony was downfield, and as he turns to go to help make the tackle, the receiver just barely touches his shoulder and just kind of a slight shove, not much of one at all. But I think it was just enough to knock Anthony off balance. But when he went down, it was just a couple feet in front of the bench. So that's why a lot of people who were watching, certainly on TV, you didn't see it. Even the people that were inside Texas Stadium, didn't really see him limp off. But so you can't say it's non-contact because there was just a little bit of contact, almost like he was kind of knocked off stride a little bit. But Anthony leaned over and he was touching his left. It looked like at first it was his left ankle. He takes about 3 steps off to get to the sideline, and of course the medical staff is right there. And the first thing that they're doing is if this microphone is the foot, and this is the leg, and this is the heel, when they pinch right here, just above
That
above
ain't
the
never
ankle,
good.
then that's not good because they're checking the Achilles. So I saw that, and then they put him in the blue medical tent, and at my angle on the sideline, I can often see inside the medical tent.
Yeah.
And Anthony already has the towel over his head, and he's leaning over, and his head is in his hands, and
Yeah.
so you know it's serious.
Yeah.
And then within 3 or 4 minutes, I see the security and medical people on the walkie-talkie calling for the cart. So it's obviously very, very serious, and they take him. The cart comes, they load him up, and Cable Johnson, who's head of Cowboys security there on the sideline, is helping hold Anthony's left foot in place as he's being taken off on the cart. Now, during the game, for Cowboys radio, I said, right now they're saying ankle injury. My fear is that it is an Achilles, and we won't have that confirmed till later or tomorrow. But, I mean, I knew.
You saw it.
Yeah, and it's such a loss because Anthony Brown, so underrated, so underappreciated by fans and a lot of media, but not by the people inside the Star, not by teammates and coaches. And he's one of these guys, he always wins one of the off-season awards. And he's quiet, but he's a leader by example and action. And so this is a big, big loss. And remember, the Cowboys are already without Jordan Lewis for the season. So you've lost 2 of your 3 starting cornerbacks. Deron Bland has stepped in beautifully for Jordan Lewis and played very well. Kelvin Joseph is going to have to step up. We'll see more of Nishan Wright. There's a guy named Sheffield who's on the practice squad right now, and I expect him to be signed to the 53-man this week and get a lot of work out on the practice field.
Sure. And so with this, too, we'll dive a little bit deeper into all of this and how this can have more of a ripple impact going forward for the depth within this defense. But, I did want to ask both of you all, as far as your initial reaction to this game, what is something that really stood out to you the most out of all the film you watched, out of the game, out from the sideline? What is the one thing that you think going forward the Cowboys need to keep the bar up here going forward to help them throughout the rest of the season? Now that we're in December football, we're talking December football. Aisha?
The key thing?
Yeah.
Shubba-dubba-shubba.
I know. I'm putting you on the spot here.
I would say maybe just the adjustments, just the ability to adjust. I mean, granted, the slow starts in the first half are, somewhat frustrating at times, but once the Cowboys figure out what is going on, they really get on a roll. But I am definitely just impressed with the second half adjustments on both sides of the ball. Even with Dan Quinn, I felt like he brought linebackers in the A and B gap like in the second half. Like he did more timely blitzes, I'll say, and it threw Matt off guard. It threw Matt Ryan off guard. But I feel like just the decision making and seeing what's working. Kellen Moore definitely realized like, hey, passing game's there, but it's not completely there right now. Let's get into a groove with this running game, be physical, let our guys get their hands on these other guys. And then from there, once that point of attack just was established, like the line of scrimmage was really established, you saw it later in the second quarter, then things trickled out into the second half, and you saw the dominance there. So the adjustments, just adjusting on the fly and adjusting correctly,
Great
and
answer.
it working.
Yeah, great answer. Christy, what about you?
Hats to the ball on defense, and that's
Yes,
that's
ma'am.
what creates takeaways. When I say hats to the ball, that for a pass rush, that means meeting at the quarterback, right? And then on offense, by the way, I thought the run defense did a good job last night too. We talked about it a little bit. We'll talk about it some more. But when you were given both kudos to the defensive tackles, well deserved. Offensively, man, especially on those Tony Pollard touchdown runs.
Yeah.
And this O-line.
Yeah.
That's the thing about December football, and we're going to have a couple of away games when you're in the playoffs. If you're a wild card team, you're going to at least open on the road. And so people talk about December football being able to play outdoors and the run game and stuff. I thought the offensive line,
Absolutely.
some of those
Yeah.
holes that they were opening. So to use a Jerry phrase, the arrow's pointing up.
And that's a tough D line. Like, we talked about it.
Those 2 D tackles,
Yeah.
I know that DeForest Buckner gets all the kudos and Pro Bowls and stuff like that, but that Grover Stewart, he's a good guy, too. That Zach Martin was talking about him. I asked him about DeForest Buckner. He says, hey, this other guy, he's just as good. This is going to be a tough game.
Yeah, they had some. They have some strength up front, and Cowboys. Tyler Biotis, I feel like, had a great game. McGovern, Tyler Smith definitely got out in space and did some dope things. Like when he came around that corner, I was when he's lead blocking, get out his way.
That was the Pollard line touchdown
Get
run.
out of his way. But no, you're right. Like there is, and also they sprinkled in some Jason Peters later in that game.
And we'll get into that.
Yeah, absolutely. But the versatility is cool. The versatility is kind of dope.
Well, I love all of this. It gives me plenty to tease about. We're going to go ahead and take our first break. But coming up a little bit later, we're going to talk about what player decided a 50 burger wasn't enough for the night, and then it was time for a new sack record to be broken. This is Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
At Jigsaw Dating, we obviously want the Cowboys to bring that 6th ring home. But to be honest, we're more focused on finding the person who will put a ring on your finger. That's why we created a dating app that reveals your face through meaningful conversation, so you can date deeper. Because it's personality that matters the most, not looks. Join Jigsaw Dating today, dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
All right, Pepsi-loving football fans, it's time we had a lesson in trash talk. And I'm not talking about that stuff that happens on the field. What I'm talking about is trash, and it's the only thing that belongs in your garbage can. No, recycling might not be as thrilling as converting a 4th and long, but next time you're thinking about throwing that Pepsi Zero Sugar bottle away, just cap it back up and pretend you're down by 6 with the recycling bin wide open. Know the difference? Make a difference. Be a team player and recycle. Visit PepsiTrashTalk.com to learn more.
I'm Dak Prescott, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys.
And they snap it to Prescott, who looks right. It's not there. He escapes left. He'll run for a first down.
Just like football, when it comes to crypto, it's important to have a team you can trust. With blockchain.com, I know I'm in good hands. Since 2011, they've been trusted by millions around the world to buy, sell, and trade cryptocurrency.
Prescott's going to run this himself. Run it up the middle, and he scores.
Whether you're new to crypto or an active trader, they've got you covered. What are you waiting for? Get started at blockchain.com.
Welcome back to Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys. We're talking all things Cowboys defensive dominance in the Sunday Night Football game against the Colts. But first, let's talk pro shops. This December, the only thing hotter than the Dallas Cowboys, I love that, will be the endless Cowboys Nation gift options. Visit your local pro shop or log on to shop.dallascowboys.com, a Fanatics experience, and gift the give the gift of the star this holiday season for the star of your life. That's where I thought that was going.
Yeah,
but,
I think I worked this past game for free because I did my pro shop shopping and tried to get a lot of Christmas done. So
oh, yeah. You know
only
what?
a little bit to go.
That's okay. That's okay. I also went to the pro shop and somehow a Christmas miracle happened. I didn't walk out with anything. I don't know how
What?
that. I know.
Wow.
I know. That never happens. But it's also because I know Christmas is around the corner. I have to save and I have to buy for my family because I've not started my Christmas shopping. Parents, you did not hear that if you're listening. But let's go into some stats from the Colts game again. If you live under a rock, the Cowboys won 54-19. And Aisha actually brought this up to my attention because going through the stats, not too bad. Sacks allowed for the Cowboys, only 1. For the Colts, 3. Let's see. Let's keep going down. Interceptions thrown by Matt Ryan, 3. By Dak Prescott, 1. Time of possession. This is something we usually really stress about on the podcast, that in order to win games, you have to win time of possession. This is a exception, I would say. Time of possession for the Colts was 31-19. For the Cowboys, surprisingly, 28-41. That was a very interesting little stat line there. Going down the list here, Donovan Wilson having himself a game, as most of the defense did, I would say as well. 7 tackles, 1 assist, 1 sack. Deron Bland, anything but bland. And yes, Chris Collinsworth, I heard you stealing my thunder there on Sunday Night Football saying that. 4 tackles, 4 assists, 2 interceptions. Osa Odigizua, 3 tackles, 2 assists, 1 sack. Just going down this list, Anthony Barr, 2 tackles, 1 sack. Malik Hooker, 2 tackles, 1 interception. And I think that is it. And I mean, man, what else could you want from this defense? Absolutely dominant of this game. So, ladies, I want to pose the question to you all because we're just going through this. I kind of alluded to this earlier. This was more of a breakout game, I think, for a lot of these younger guys. And so there are names that we mentioned and we've brought up, but who do you think overall out of this Cowboys defense had the most of their breakout game to maybe set the standard for what we're going to see for the rest of the season?
It's hard not to say DaRon Bland, man.
Why?
It's just hard not to say.
Because he's what? Anything
Oh my
but
God, y'all.
bland.
Oh,
Pew, 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 pew.
You gotta let it go.
I'm
You gotta
not,
let it go.
I'm not going to be like Elsa and let it go.
But he's, but no, like it's hard to not say DaRon Bland because of you saw him in training camp, saw what he was capable of. Like, man, like this guy has a nose for the ball. And sometimes injuries happen in this game. Sometimes that's how guys get their opportunity. He was inserted very randomly, and as started to get his legs under him. The nickel cornerback position is not an easy position to play, and he has to do a lot, even in tackling, run support, and in coverage. And he's, to me, starting to really see the field and get it, and I felt like that was on display yesterday. He just has such a nose for the ball, and I think he's an asset in the middle of your he's becoming an asset in the middle of your defense on the back end now.
Yeah.
2 interceptions, becoming the Cowboys' rookie defender with 2 picks in a game since Trayvon Diggs. You may or may not know that name, everybody. And Trayvon had that in Philly back in 2020. So, interestingly enough, from a guy who started on the outside, moved inside, very impactful, DaRon Bland. Another guy you may or may not heard of with the storylines last week, Malik Hooker.
Oh, yeah.
Having himself a game as well. His revenge game, if you will. I love a good storyline when it comes to that. Christy, what were you seeing from the sideline from Malik Hooker, and what was that energy like? Because I don't want to call it a homecoming. He's home. He's home, obviously. But when a player plays that kind of game and they have a little bit more of a chip on their shoulder, what were you seeing from Malik during the game?
Well, it was great that Coach McCarthy went ahead and named him a game captain for the defense, obviously. Yeah. By the way, it was Zach Martin for the offense. He is a native of Indianapolis and grew up a huge Colts fan and was a Peyton Manning fan. That was the era in which Zach grew up as a boy, as a fan. But that's the reason why they were offensive and defensive captains. Sean McCune, by the way, was special teams captain. But with Malik Hooker, I think, well, the fact that he had the scores is what makes the highlights and all of that. But he has played so well all year, really. And he wasn't shy talking about his time in Indianapolis during the week. He had nothing but good things to say. He did not get a second contract after being a first-round draft pick. He had the injury concerns at the end of his 4 years with Indy, and so that's why they didn't re-sign him. But talking to him last week in the locker room, he was saying, hey, the trainers, they from Indianapolis, they check on me. They called me this week to check on me. So, nothing but good things to say. But did it mean something to him? Heck yeah, it did. Yeah. Yep. It was awesome.
He's becoming.
Yeah. And he is so well-spoken.
Yes.
Such a cerebral, good guy. I hope that folks were listening to the Cowboys Hour last week. He was the guest with Brad Sham and Haley Sutton. Brett Maher, by the way, is the guest tonight on the Cowboy
Cha-ching.
Hour. But I love Malik Hooker. I just love his attitude. I love his thoughtful answers, and I love his thoughtful approach to the game. So I'm glad it paid off for him, and he got all the kudos.
I would say getting a scoop and score.
Yeah.
It sounded like we're talking about Thanksgiving all over again with all this food talk. We're talking a nearly 60 burger, a scoop and score. An interception and a 38-yard fumble recovery for a touchdown. What a great day for him.
But it goes to what we were saying about hats to the ball. So the scoop and score, it's because everybody's being aggressive, and following up on plays and stuff like that. That's how you get those kinds of scores or takeaways.
No, you're right though about his personality, his character and stuff. He's really become a leader on this defense. He speaks well, and the communication from the safety position has to be on point. And he actually wore the green dot for a good amount of the season when Jaron Kearse was out. So it just kind of shows you how much trust they have in him. And sometimes I forget he's 25, 26. He's a young guy. Like you forget because of his demeanor and how he carries himself. But he's also another one of these guys that's come to the Cowboys, in this Dan Quinn defense and kind of revamped himself. And Achilles is not something that's easy to come back from. And for him to come back last year, I felt like he was just getting his legs under him. But now you see this year, he's sideline to sideline. He's like hash to hash. Like his dude is flying around. And I thought he really needed this game. Yeah. I think this game meant something to him, but for this defense to also take the next step, he has to be firing on all cylinders. And I really feel like this game he was doing just that.
This defense taking the next step. I love, love, love that you said that. Do you feel like, both of you, open-ended question, do you feel like this was the game that they've taken the next step and they've officially elevated from, what we already knew they could do, but you see the defensive domination and there's more players to even talk about now. Do you feel like this was the game that they took the next step, or do you feel like it's been a gradual step forward throughout the past few weeks?
I think what you said, gradual, it's a continuation of what we've seen. That game got completely out of hand with the 4 takeaways in the fourth quarter. I'm not taking anything away from it because it was fun. And I'd never seen 4 consecutive takeaways before, but it just a coming together of what we've already seen. Yeah. So sure. I was not surprised by it at all. I mean, after all, it was Shark Week, right? Mm-hmm. Which is what we wanted all along.
I need the Jaws theme music to just keep playing every time the defense comes out on the field.
Now, you mentioned we've been talking about the young guys like Sam Williams, Damone Clark, Deron Bland, like these young gentlemen that are getting playing time. Them getting playing time early in this season is starting to pay dividends to what you want to do as a defense, and them being able to contribute on a high level when you do have some guys like a Tank and some in Leighton Vander Esch, Anthony Barr that are a little bit up in age, and not necessarily older, but they do need, this is a long season. Yeah. And when you can insert those young guys and there's not a drop off in play, now you're cooking with gas. Ooh. Because this is the time of year where
we're talking about food today.
Yeah. But this is the time of year where your depth is very important. And besides that cornerback 2 position, which I'm sure they're going to try to get worked out, you should feel very comfortable about where they are. Also, this team is starting to really get the system. That if the offense, they say it almost after every game, the offense really understands that if they don't make mistakes and if they play clean football and just do their job, there's no overexerting yourself. Like, if the Cowboys just go score, the defense is going to do their thing. Yeah. And vice versa. And I really feel like they're starting to get that it's kind of like a machine. And when I do this for my brother, this happens for me, and everybody wins. And it's something that I think people say it in football all the time. Complimentary football, it's so cliche and stuff. But when you see it on display and you're starting to see it in a more consistent basis, that's when you start saying, okay, this team has something a little bit special because it's locker rooms together, and that's half the battle.
Absolutely. And speaking of a gradual incline, somebody else I wanted to make sure we give all of the kudos today. Give him his flowers, Donovan Wilson.
That's my
sir. That's my guy. Please, a round of applause for Donovan Wilson and the explosiveness that he had during that game. I mean, I don't want to call it Dono's breakout game because I feel like we've seen just a gradual uptick of his productivity, his physicality, even just the tackling has gradually gotten better. But Donovan Wilson officially has the 4th most sacks by an NFL DB since the beginning of 2020. That tells you something, folks. We are seeing
that's how
it was a lot of things here.
It was a great play call, that safety blitz. But are you guys familiar with the Golden Whistle?
Golden Whistle.
Yeah, so that is an award. There are off-season awards where it's through the conditioning program, and there are, about 10 off-season award winners. I have them here in the back of my book. But among all of those off-season award winners, there's one kind of like grand prize for all the off-season stuff. And I will let you guess who the Golden Whistle Award winner was for this past year. It was
Donovan Wilson.
There you go. Woo! And it's Coach McCarthy, makes the final call, but
Yeah.
in conversation with the coaching staff, particularly the strength and conditioning coaches, of which we have 3. But anyway, it literally is a golden whistle. They give him an award. It's a golden whistle. It has his name on it and stuff. And so Donovan was so proud to win it. And so it's not just like the numbers and what you did with your off-season conditioning program.
Yeah.
It's also leadership, character, all of the things, showing. And there's so much buy-in year-round from all the players. But I'll mention some of these off-season award winners here. For offense, Zach Martin, Dak Prescott, Terrence Steele, who's won it 2 years in a row, Connor McGovern. I put Connor McGregor here because
they were putting up a real fight.
That's right. There you go. Connor McGovern.
I got you.
Zeke Elliott and Dalton Schultz. For the defense, Van Der Esch. I mentioned Anthony Brown. Anthony Brown and Jordan Lewis, who are both now season-ending injuries. Osa Odigizua.
There you go.
And then Donovan Wilson, Tony Pollard, and Luke Gifford on special teams. So obviously great leaders there, all of the work ethic and character. But out of all those guys, it's also has to do with overcoming injuries.
Yeah.
And so that's something that Donovan has dealt with his first few years in the league.
Yeah.
I'm partial to him because I'm a Texas Aggie, and
There you go.
Donovan is a Texas Aggie. But, yeah, I was glad to see him get that sack because it's kind of like with Deron Bland. We've been seeing it all year, but to make the highlight play on Sunday Night Football in prime time now, everybody sees
and
it.
I think, too, it's a scheme thing. He is completely bought into this scheme, and you can feel it. You can see it. You can see that these players are absolutely locked into this Dan Quinn defense. Absolutely, without a doubt. But I wanted to ask you, here's the question of the day, everybody. Is the Cowboys' run defense fixed? And I say fixed because I don't think it was ever completely broken here, y'all. I think it needed some adjusting, but do you think it's fixed? Because how good of a test was this Colts offense for that to really solidify? Because we've been talking about this since Green Bay, week by week by week. Is it fixed yet? Is it fixed? Are we seeing improvement? Well, again, that leads to the question. Do you think this Cowboys defense has officially found the fix to ensuring that the run defense is no longer going to be that kryptonite for them? Aisha, I'll start with you.
Well, I mean, because I'm impartial as well, because I'm one of the people that's like, I didn't know if it was so much broken. It was just that it needed to be tweaked, and guys just need to play harder. We talked about it. All hats to the ball. Tackling was good this game. I mean, they're playing collectively together. So, and also too, you're getting a lot of help and support from the DBs. Like, these young DBs are coming up and tackling, helping on the edge as well. Sam Williams is actually very helpful in the run game at the edge. So you also see Dan Quinn changing up some lineups, changing up some stuff, trying to see what works and which guys works. But also to this last couple of weeks, you've been without, I think it was Bohanna was out of game. And then
Bohanna didn't play yesterday.
Bohanna didn't play. So you're also defensively doing well without having all your guys on the field. So I will say that just the idea of stopping the run seems like it is set well with the guys, and the effort is there to do it. I mean, 3.8 yards a carry yesterday for the Colts is nothing to snuff at. These guys are playing hard.
Well, there you go. And so I hate to cut this conversation short, but ladies, there's just so much to talk about today, so we have to go to break. But coming up after the break, we're breaking down the Cowboys' offense and how their focus on pre-snap penalties helped them out. That's coming up in just a bit. This is Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
At Jigsaw Dating, we obviously want the Cowboys to bring that 6th ring home. But to be honest, we're more focused on finding the person who will put a ring on your finger. That's why we created a dating app that reveals your face through meaningful conversation, so you can date deeper. Because it's personality that matters the most, not looks. Join Jigsaw Dating today, dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
All right, Pepsi-loving football fans, it's time we had a lesson in trash talk. And I'm not talking about that stuff that happens on the field. What I'm talking about is trash, and it's the only thing that belongs in your garbage can. No, recycling might not be as thrilling as converting a 4th and long, but next time you're thinking about throwing that Pepsi Zero Sugar bottle away, just cap it back up and pretend you're down by 6 with the recycling bin wide open. Know the difference? Make a difference. Be a team player and recycle. Visit PepsiTrashTalk.com to learn more.
With Smoothie King's original Angel Food and new Angel Food Slim without added sugar, you no longer have to choose between treating yourself and hitting your goals this summer. You don't have to choose between great taste and feeling great. Because at Smoothie King, every blend is made with whole fruits and no syrups, so you can satisfy your cravings without compromise. The only choice you will need to make is which one is best for you. Try our classic Angel Food or the new Angel Food Slim, blended without added sugar. Smoothie King, rule the day.
Welcome back to Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys. We are breaking down all things Cowboys Colts, but first let's talk holiday camps because 'tis the season for Dallas Cowboys holiday youth camps presented by Invisalign. Registration for one-day football and dance academy camps are now open. Don't miss your chance to send your little athlete to camp at AT&T Stadium on December 20th and 21st. Register today at dallascowboys.com/academy.
Your little athlete.
Well,
Aw.
the end of the day is a game, and the our DCC Dance Academy, and that, by the way, it's taught by the real Cowboys cheerleaders. But they come out, and we have a pregame ceremony, we have halftime, and then I call the game for the football. So if you're bringing your little one out to Football Academy, you'll have a chance to come on the field after the game. So please be sure and come up and introduce yourself. I'd love to meet you.
We're prepping some Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders and some future Cowboys players. Is what
Exactly.
it sounds
That's
like.
exactly what it is.
Well, let's talk about the Cowboys offense. They had 385 total yards, 165 of which were passing yards, 220 of which were rushing yards. They were averaging 5.9 yards per play, 23 first downs within this game. Third down efficiency, I could get into this, but we won't for time's sake. 7 out of 13. Total plays 65, and we're going to the next page of stats here. Hello. Rushing yards. Tony Pollard had 91 for 12 carries, averaging 7.6 yards a carry, of course, having 2 rushing touchdowns. Zeke, 77 yards with 17 carries, averaging 4.5 yards a play. 1 rushing touchdown for him. And then the running back glory continued. Malik Davis having himself his first career touchdown, rushing touchdown, that is, 29 yards for 3 carries. Going down to receiving, CeeDee Lamb had 71 yards, averaging 14.2 yards a carry, 1 touchdown for him there. Michael Gallup, 23 yards within this game, touching the ball 4 times, averaging 5.8 yards a carry, and having himself 2 touchdowns for some Sunday Night Football feast there. So, ladies, I wanted to get into the Cowboys offense and breaking down the run game and the pass game. Something specifically that I wanted to talk about with the running game was that this is the first time in Ezekiel Elliott's career that he didn't start in his career. And Christy, I wanted to pass that over to you to kind of talk about that and what we heard and why Tony Pollard got that start first.
Yeah, we talked about Pollard being out there on the radio broadcast, and so Brad and Babe are throwing it down to me. It's like, everything okay with Zeke? Why is Zeke not starting? So I'm checking, making sure that it's not injury related. It was not. And on the sideline, they weren't saying anything about disciplinary reasons as to why Pollard started and not Zeke. It was actually Jerry Jones in his post-game press conference that said it was discipline related in terms of Jerry referenced meetings and cell phones. So it could have been cell phone going off, but Mike McCarthy was asked about it about an hour ago in his Monday afternoon press conference, and Mike McCarthy said those are things that stay in the locker room. But the funniest thing was about 15 minutes later, towards the end of the press conference, our PR director, Tad Carper, his cell phone goes off. And so all of us in the media are joking. It's like, oh, there's a fine, or oh, you're benched, you can't start. And then Mike McCarthy uses the line from Jerry Jones' postgame last night and says, I would have been more lenient. And it was the greatest line. It was hilarious.
Mike McCarthy feeling so comfortable in these press conferences.
He's got
really
a great sense of humor. He really does.
So staying on the run game, and I only wanted to bring that up just to show not an injury thing, but again, it's an accountability thing, which is another theme we've heard a lot from this Cowboys locker room.
But the thing about Zeke is he'll never mope about it.
There you
You'd
go.
never know.
Yep.
He is such a great teammate. That's something that Mike McCarthy also talked about too. And there's not a harder worker or higher football IQ guy or better teammate than
Very
Zeke.
important to note there. Tony Pollard also having himself a game, finished with 106 scrimmage yards and leads the Cowboys with 6 games of 100-plus scrimmage yards this season. So that's exciting there. And again, we're cramming all this in because we just get so excited talking about these games. Pass game, Michael Gallup, CeeDee Lamb. Hello, gentlemen. Have yourself a night. Go celebrate and have yourself a 50 burger because y'all absolutely deserve it. Something I wanted to ask both of you is about the O-line and how important the O-line stability and strength really played out in this game. Aisha, I'll start with you on that.
No, for sure. We talked about it earlier. I thought the offensive line definitely came out and established themselves. Towards the second quarter, they really started putting their hands on those people, putting their hands on the other guys, and I felt like they were winning at the line of scrimmage. They were just so powerful. I mean, Zach Martin was moving people around. DeForest Buckner is not a guy that's easily to get your hands off of, and he really seriously drove him down. They got to the second level, and that eventually opened up the pass. I thought they were also smart with how they passed the ball once they got into a rhythm. CeeDee Lamb is really emerging as that receiver, as that dude. And when he came in,
tuck and roll.
Oh yeah,
Hello.
absolutely. On that play, it was it was 3rd and 10, if I'm not mistaken.
He said,
third and
stop,
10.
drop, and roll. I'm on fire tonight.
3rd and 10. Your quarterback needs a play.
Someone stop me, please.
Yeah, I mean, your quarterback needs a play, and he comes out there. Kellen Moore also did a fantastic job getting him in space. CeeDee Lamb is a yards after catch guy. He's stronger than what he looks. He's hard to tackle, and he was put in positions in this game to really get out, and we got to see his athletic ability and what he's capable of. Michael Gallup, that fade was beautiful. You could tell that Dak cared about that throw. He really put it exactly where it needed to be. And the other TD is just a scramble drill. And that's just your wide receiver not giving up on the play. And so you're seeing some good things from those guys. Surprisingly though, I don't know what your thoughts are. I was actually surprised that the tight ends weren't so involved.
Well, I think it was
with
just
the receivers.
Yeah,
I was like, in which way? Because we know they're very versatile.
It's matchups.
Yeah,
it's
matchups. And,
it was just there was more downfield opportunity and just better matchups with the wide receivers and not having to rely so much on the tight ends with the blocking and
there you go.
I want to say one more thing on offensive line. I'll make it real quick.
All right, because we are running out of time. We love this.
Terrence Steele and Tyler Biotish spent their day off last Tuesday. I emceed it, but they were with the new president and CEO of the National Medal of Honor Museum, Chris, who is a former Navy SEAL and astronaut. And we were at the Medal of Honor Museum Display Center in Arlington with Nolan Junior High in Arlington ISD, and then virtually with junior high outside Fort Hood. And they were talking about character, commitment, things that are represented with the Medal of Honor recipients. And so if we're talking about offensive line, I want to mention Tyler Biotish and Terrence Steele for spending their off day talking to kids about these important things.
Beautiful.
Amazing.
Beautiful, beautiful stuff. And we love that on the field glory, but we also love the off the field work as well. So great mention there, Christy. Also want to give kudos to the Cowboys overall for fixing those pre-snap penalties, putting focus on that because y'all know I'm the queen of it.
She don't play.
Okay, so here we go. Here's your pun of the day for this.
Oh, God.
This 50 burger, nearly 60 burger, was very dry with the mustard on the lettuce and just a lot of extra yardage on the side. Ooh.
Oh, my gosh.
I know, y'all. All right.
Can I upgrade to sweet potato fries?
Yeah.
Okay,
You can upgrade.
there you go.
You can definitely upgrade. Well, ladies, I love doing this with y'all every Monday, and it's always so much fun that you give me the platform to put my puns out in the world. And Chris Collinsworth can steal that one next week if he
There
wants.
you go.
Just stealing.
But yes, thank you, ladies, so much for joining me. As always, it is so much fun talking all things Cowboys football with you. We will be back tomorrow. So for Christy, Aisha, I am Jess. We will see you tomorrow for even more Girls Talk, Boys Talk presented by Jigsaw, the preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Enjoy the rest of your Victory Monday, and go Cowboys.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?